Hey folks, we are back on New Script on the Block. This is Alyssa from Arizona Studios here with Grahm Pritchard. I always want to say Pritchard, and I know it's not right, and I'm sorry I get it wrong every time. Pritchard. And Cassandra Nicholson?
Yep.
Yes, perfect. Cassandra, you're our guest this week, and we are actually reading a script by myself, Alyssa, a member of our team, but Cassandra's going to be helping us out by reading some of the characters and the narration. Cassandra, do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, like your background as a writer and, you know, what you do in the film industry?
Sure, yeah. I'm a Phoenix-based independent writer. I'm also a producer and occasional director. I've done short films, worked on short films for the last 10 years or so in different capacities.
Cool. Anything online they might be able to check out?
Yeah, so there's a couple. There's Revenge of the NPCs, which was part of our 24-hour film challenge last year we did with some cool folks at Cineforge. And they had a contest that was kind of in concert with a local sort of nerdy video game convention.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. So 24
cool.
hours after doing a 48-hour film challenge. The 24-hour film challenges are intense, and now 48-hour film challenges don't seem so scary because we did one in 24.
I would
it was
just
fun.
Literally not do that. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I'd see it, and I'd be like, 48 is already, like, trash. Like,
yeah, it's amazing what what you can do and what you're pushed to do. But it was fun. We had a great team. We, just like all competitions, we didn't get, the prop or the line of dialogue, or there's one other element that I can't think of at the moment. But, you get those on the night of the kickoff. We didn't get those until 6 o'clock. And then we
had to work overnight to get
shot into the night. Great group of people. So that's on, if you just look up on YouTube, Revenge of the NPCs, that's the one that's actually available. And then the other movies that I've worked on over the last couple of years are kind of in the film festival circuit, short film festival circuit. So just trying to get those out there. And then once that's over, we'll start putting those online. But I really do like the idea of focusing on digital first audiences. So maybe creating content that you're going to put online specifically for online and social and digital consumption.
So we're kind of anticipating that a lot of the people who listen to the podcast are people who may be new to the film industry. Either they're a student still in school, or maybe they're a career changer, or just someone who's getting started. With that said, you touched on a couple of things, and I was wondering if you could go a little more in depth, because you mentioned that some of your films are in the festival market, but then you also talked about, direct to online.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about, like, why you would choose to go one or the other, kind of what the benefits, negatives are?
Sure. So I would say if you are not doing a competition film and you're planning to do like the traditional, develop the script, workshop the script, go through rewrites, and then cast and produce. So if you're going through sort of the more lengthy process where you have more time to like let things breathe and not rush to get stuff done, thinking about what makes it unique for either an audience online to consume, length of time would be a factor. So, I mean, if you're looking to maybe ultimately make this something that is available on Netflix, certainly it can be a feature or it can be a long short. But from what I've observed online, if you're doing like a super micro short, like something that is super funny or super thought-provoking or even horror, if it's going to be like 90 seconds to 5 minutes, that might be more appropriate for digital audiences. And that might be something, obviously research and see what's the best way to generate an audience for that. But if it's not something that you're, planning on going through a financier to get funding so that there's an expectation of a return on that investment, if it's just a project that you want to do just to kind of hone those skills and work on and collaborate with other people, you might decide to put it online, if only because film festival submissions are really expensive.
Yeah.
And the process is long. So what I've always joked with people is like, if you catch it early enough where the rate is the lowest it could possibly be, that's the longest wait time. So you have to wait like 6 to 8 months or longer to find out if you've even gotten to the film festival, if you get the cheapest rate. If you happen to catch them at the end of their run right before they're ready to make their final decisions, those are the most expensive. So you could pay upwards of $60, $70, $80 for a quicker response from a film festival, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that thing to weigh, like how quickly do you want it to get out there? Are you trying to if you can go to the film festival, if you have the money saved to go to the film festival to network, that's what makes film festivals beneficial, because you're networking with potential, producers or actors. You're able to really make that beneficial. But if it's something where you're kind of bootstrapping it and you just want to get it out there to see what audiences think about it and what people think about it, it might be more cost effective to do that, and then maybe use really standard social media tools like hashtags and things like that to generate interest on social. IGTV is one that I'm actually looking to pursue over the next few months, really tackling
awesome.
that.
Yeah, I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, and I feel like, it's super relevant to the YouTuber community, like transitioning there, but I wasn't sure in terms of the indie film community. Like, it makes sense, but, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it in our market, like here in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's tricky because, again, you've got all these sort of disparate opinions and also goals. So it could be just, like I said, honing in the craft, but if you're a YouTuber, if you're someone who has those aspirations, your audience is online. Yeah. Your audience is not going to be a film festival screener or programmer. It's going to be someone who's on their computer all the time or on their phone all the time. Yeah. So you kind of have to tailor your content for those audiences.
That makes sense.
And so really, following those trends, I think as filmmakers we kind of have to think about that, because we're looking at it right now as consumers, we're kind of following slowly the trend of what's happened with streaming platforms now. So the streaming platforms have all this freedom to do what they want. Hulu, Netflix, all of these guys, they're able to they don't have to worry about commercials if they don't want them. They don't have to worry about the structure of traditional, films or television shows. It's kind of like, I've heard someone say it's like the Wild Wild West online. So for us, for film, exactly. So for us, it's an opportunity for us to explore and experiment and still obviously pay attention to what the pros are doing and what industry leaders are doing. But, we don't always have to be beholden to what were sort of traditional gatekeeping methods anymore, which is nice.
That's awesome. You are just a wealth of knowledge. I don't know about that. Have you thought about teaching?
I don't know if I'm qualified for that. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. We'll see. I'll hit you up 10, 15 years from now. We'll see.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. So just a bit of a disclaimer for the audience and for you guys, and I think I kind of already mentioned it. There are some minor, religious themes in this piece. So, if that makes you uncomfortable, no sweat. Feel free to tune out. I think it's pretty family-friendly across the board, even if you're not, into that type of stuff. So, but that's the type of feedback I'm definitely looking to get. Didn't write this piece with really any intentions, probably going to be low budget and then just pop it out online, but open to feedback and thoughts on that. I'm happy to get into the log line and then move into reading the script if you guys are ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure, sounds good.
Cool. All right, let me pull this up so I'm facing the mic while I'm talking. Okay. So this script is called Dinner with the Family. When it's time to take his girlfriend home to meet the family, Patrick's tunnel vision can be comedically off base. Okay.
Nice. Interior car evening. Patrick, 30s, is at the wheel with his shoulders hunched in a stiff fashion and an anxious look on his face. Sarah, 30s, uses the passenger side mirror to apply her makeup. The car takes a slight swerve as they pass another vehicle's lights. SFX, elongated car honk. Sarah manages to pull the makeup brush away as the swerve occurs, but she shoots Patrick a glare.
Calm down.
I am calm.
Red lights flash in front of the vehicle and the car comes to an abrupt stop. Sarah's makeup flies out of her hands and onto the dash. Patrick slams his hand on the horn.
Oh, come on. Learn how to drive.
Sarah sighs, leans back in her chair, and turns her head to Patrick. Patrick notices her condescending stare. He feels the intensity of his posture and relaxes his shoulders. Patrick sighs.
It's one dinner.
She slips her hand over to his, giving it a snug clasp.
It's one of many dinners to come.
Sarah slowly pulls her hand away.
Yeesh. I feel like we're getting a little too serious too fast.
Ha ha, yeah, it's funny. I get it.
You get it? Because we've been together for... Oh, God. Sorry. Page break. Hold on. You get it? Because we've been together for so long and I'm only just meeting your family.
Yeah, very cute.
Sarah returns to her makeup.
You're not laughing. It's almost like you don't think it's funny at all.
I think it's funny. You know who doesn't think it's funny? My mother. She does not find two adults in their 30s dating for 2 years and not getting married funny at all.
Well, it's a good thing she's not one of the members of this relationship.
No, but she'll make you feel like she is.
You're being overly dramatic.
Oh, I'm not being dramatic. You just do not remotely understand how crazy my family is.
Sarah chuckles.
You poor thing. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Sarah puts down her makeup.
All right, give it to me.
Patrick glances at her, back to the road, to Sarah again.
What?
Go ahead. Just get it all out before we get there. Tell me all about your crazy family. I want to know what I'm getting into.
Patrick's attention turns to the road once more.
All right, first.
Interior, living room, evening. An empty, well-decorated living room.
There's my Uncle Bert.
A characterized version of Bert, 50s, appears, as if filling in a piece of an incomplete family portrait.
He's a stereotypical old East Coast kind of guy.
Bert dons a dirty wife beater with a sports sweatshirt and sweatpants. While plump and balding, his hair and mustache have a sort of greasy look to them. He has a thin gold chain with a Catholic saint medallion.
Everything that comes out of his mouth is offensive. So I tell her, well, sweetheart, if you want to get somewhere in the professional world, you should try wearing a tighter dress, for starters. Am I right? And his excuse is always,
Bert mouths the next part along with Patrick.
sorry, I'm from the East Coast.
Interior car, evening.
Like being from the East Coast is a free pass to being an asshole.
All right, so don't sit next to Uncle Bert. Got it.
Right. Then there's my crazy aunt, Brunhilde, from my mom's side in Germany.
Interior living room, evening. Brunhilde, 70s, fills in the space beside Bert.
She's huge. I mean, really huge.
She appears so tall, her head is cut off out of frame.
Literally, the only thing she talks about is cats.
Brunhilde, still cut off by the frame, wears a vintage cat sweater and standard mom jeans.
I love the kittens. That's not German at all. So I'm getting Russian. That's what I can do.
That was a little Russian.
When she's speaking English, which is rarely the case.
Oh, God. Okay, this line is in German, and I don't speak German, just to be clear. Kleines Kätzchen, won't just do.
Brunhilde runs out of frame, arms outstretched. SFX, cat screams. Interior car, evening.
I'm glad we didn't bring Wendy.
Oh, we couldn't bring Wendy, because my brother is deathly allergic to cats.
Interior living room, evening. Jackson, 20s, now joins the family portrait.
At least he thinks he is.
Jackson is a meek and gangly-looking young man in a white polo with neatly kept jeans, suspenders, and retro glasses.
But Jackson thinks he's allergic to a lot of things. So sorry, I definitely can't eat that. I can smell the gluten from all the way over here. Of course, his wife's no help. She's a standard hipster who believes everything she reads online.
Kylie, 20, sports a very H&M look with her cell phone out and at the ready. WebMD says you probably shouldn't eat anything that was cooked in the same contaminated kitchen. Did you guys hear that the president slept with his own daughter? God, what's happening in this country? Am I right?
Wait.
Interior car, evening.
Your little brother's married? I thought he was barely 20.
Yeah?
Interior living room, evening. Jackson and Kylie look at one another holding hands with deep love and affection.
They met at church.
Suddenly, Jackson and Kylie stand feet apart, each donning a cross necklace.
Leave room for God, honey.
Kylie steps further away. Interior car, evening.
You can blame that young, overzealous desire to become a divorce statistic on my mother.
Interior living room, evening. Kylie and Gwendolyn, 50s, join the group.
The first thing she's going to ask you.
Gwen wears a long-sleeve dress that covers her whole body and a bonnet. Her cross necklace is her only accessory. Have you been introduced to our Lord and Savior?
And if you happen to say yes, well...
Oh, thank you, Jesus. The Lord has finally brought my son a wife. May you be blessed with my many grandchildren. Interior car, evening.
Many? Like, how many are we talking here?
Patrick just gives Sarah a sad glance as if she doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. He turns back to the road.
Finally, Dad.
Interior living room, evening. Harold, 50s, stands beside his wife in the group.
He's pretty quiet.
Harold has a lurch look to him. A stoic, slender man in a suit with dark, sunken-in eyes. Pause for silence.
Very quiet.
Pause for more silence.
Sometimes I wonder if he's just haunted by his time at war.
Close up on Harold's dead eyes as the sounds of bombs, desperate screams, and gunshots go off in his mind.
Or maybe he's sleeping.
Sunglasses appear on Harold as he proceeds to snore. Interior car, evening.
I'll have to ask him.
They pull up to the house, parking along the sidewalk. Patrick takes a deep breath and exhales.
Are you sure about this?
Sarah leans in and gives Patrick a tender kiss.
I can live with a little crazy.
She opens her door and gets out of the car.
I'm dating you after all.
She exits the vehicle. Patrick smirks at her, then opens his door. Exterior house continues. Patrick rings the doorbell.
Coming.
Patrick anxiously glares wide-eyed at Sarah, who smiles, containing a laugh. Bert swings the door open to reveal himself. Albeit still balding and a little hefty, he now sports a nice flannel button-up, well-kept jeans, and a leather belt. The glimmer of a small metal saint's medallion shines from his neck.
Patty!
He leans in with a big bear hug for Patrick.
Look at you, such a macho guy, huh?
He gives Patrick a light punch in the arm. Bert turns to Sarah.
And hello, beautiful.
Bert looks to Patrick, pointing at Sarah.
This one's your girl? Holy shit, Patty, she's way too good for you.
Bert extends his hand to Sarah.
Oh, God.
Enchanté, mademoiselle.
I had to think about that when I was reading last night. She brings her hand to his and receives a small peck. He then pulls her into the house.
Come on, the whole family's already here.
Sarah nervously darts her eyes to Patrick, who follows along. Interior house, various, continuous. A entryway.
Hey everybody, Patty and Sarah are here.
Hey.
Hey.
Let's introduce you to the family.
In the kitchen, Bert walks Sarah over to Gwen, who has a nice blouse and slacks on with stylish hair. In the background, on the kitchen wall, a cross is displayed. From behind Gwen, Harold is seen cleaning cookingware. Sarah?
Hey, great to finally meet you.
The two go in for a hug. Oh, it's so good to meet you, too. She pulls out from the hug. God, you are so beautiful. Good work, Patrick. She turns to Patrick with a hug for him.
Thanks, Mom.
Harold, say hello to your son and his gorgeous girlfriend. Harold turns, soap-covered hands still plunged in the sink. While he's a tall and slender man, his eyes aren't nearly as dark as Sarah imagined, and he's dressed more casually.
Hey, you two.
He gives a big smile. Patrick waves.
Hey, Dad.
Brunhilde enters from the garage. She's holding a cat, who she lets down on the ground. Sarah, this is Patrick's great-aunt Brunhilde. Brunhilde is only slightly taller than average, and she does not wear a cat sweater, but instead a nice casual dress and cardigan. She turns and smiles.
I'd shake your hands, but that verdammt cat scratched it. You call me Hildy. Is easier. Hildy. Got it.
SFX, cat screech, and dog bark.
The animal's so frustrating. Good thing you're cute.
By the end of her statement, Brunhilde is already trudging off toward the sound. Sarah chuckles.
Not as eccentric as your story implies.
She gives him a look. In the living room, Jackson and Kylie cuddle on the couch, chatting among themselves. Jackson gives a small sneeze, but shrugs it off. Their appearance is slightly more average than Sarah imagined. Kylie's cell phone is nowhere in sight, and she is dressed stylishly. Jackson is also well dressed with a nice button-up and jeans. As they notice Sarah and Patrick, they rise from their seats.
Sarah, this is my brother Jackson and his wife Kylie. Guys, this is Sarah.
Patrick gives each of them a hug. Jackson gives Sarah a handshake.
Nice to meet you, Sarah.
It's good to meet you, too. Your brother told me so much about you.
Yeah? Good things, I hope?
Sarah and Kylie shake hands.
Yeah, of course.
She gives Kylie a look and that says, sort of. Kylie laughs. That sounds about right.
Hey, I would never say anything mean about my baby brother. Yeah, of course not. I mean, what bad things would there even be to say?
The group goes silent for a second as Patrick and Kylie give each other a knowing look. Sarah spots this and chuckles. The group bursts into laughter.
What?
Interior dining room, moments later. Going around the table, everyone chats with one another warmly, sharing anecdotes and laughing. At the end of the table, Gwen sets down a potato salad while Harold finishes cutting slices of ham or turkey. Gwen sits down. So, Sarah, what kind of stuff did Patrick tell you about us?
Oh, he gave me all the dirt on you guys.
Gwen shoots Patrick a look.
Whoa, snitch.
He wouldn't. Patty's my smart boy.
Hey, I'm right here.
You know what I mean. Your brother's more of the sophisticated college intellectual type. Sarah turns to Patrick, who now appears in a tweed blazer with suede elbows, a short glass of scotch, thick black glasses, and a pipe.
All right. Well, if everybody's okay with it, I'm going to say a quick word of prayer, and then we'll go ahead and eat.
Harold turns to Sarah. Patrick appears in his normal attire.
There's no pressure to join if it's not your thing or anything.
Sarah smiles at Harold as she takes hold of Patrick's hand and offers her other one to the neighbor on her opposite side. The family all take hands and bow their heads.
Dear Lords, thanks for the grub. Amen.
Gwen jerks her hand out from Harold's and gives him a swift smack on the shoulder as the whole group chuckles to themselves.
All right, all right. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, for the opportunity to celebrate a special time like this together surrounded by our loved ones. We may all be different. Hell, some might even be considered a little weird. But I just pray, Father, that in this house, every single person at this table feels at home.
Interior living room later. Everyone in the family gets into place, positioned as they were before, this time including Sarah and Patrick. Bert sets the camera timer and dashes to his place.
I pray that you show us all the way to love and respect one another and our neighbors, for all that they are. In your name, we pray. Amen.
The light from the camera flashes. Fade to black.
That's the whole thing.
Nice.
Okay. This podcast is brought to you by Arizona Studios. Arizona Studios, a full-service video content specialist. We're here to illuminate your message and compel your audience to take the right action. For more information, head to our website at arizonastudios.com and be sure to tune in for more content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Well, I'm always curious when talking to other writers, like what inspired you to write this?
Oh, okay. So actually this script happened because of a conversation I had with a coworker of mine, Nero. He's another host from the show. So Nero and I both grew up in religious households, and there's a common trend of, because I work in this industry, people in my family like to recommend religious themed movie, and you're making a face because you know exactly where this is going. People like to recommend religious movies to me a lot because, you know, I, again, have certain religious upbringings and work in film, and they always say the same thing, like, oh no, this one was really good, like it looked really nice. They don't. Like, they just don't. I would say 99.9% of Christian movies are kind of the absolute worst. I mean, one, in terms of, like, cinematography, it looks like the people who film these movies are probably people who worked in the broadcast industry in the 90s and pretty much haven't learned anything else about how to film since then.
I can see that.
Broadcast,
Yeah.
and they were probably broadcasting like the Catholic churches or like the Christian churches, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Oh, yeah. And I also just hate, like, I really can't stand the villainization of pretty much anyone who doesn't believe in God. Yeah. Like, I hate when Christian films make atheists out to be, like, monsters, and it's just, it's ridiculous. You know, I consider myself a believer, and I think that that's not the right way to treat people or talk about people or represent people in our media. So Nero and I just agreed that what if we could make up something that had religious themes but sent a message that was about just accepting people for who they are and all their differences, and, you know, didn't come off in such a judgy, harsh way that it's all about, like, fear factoring people into believing in God because, well, what happens if you die and you don't believe in God? Like, it should be about, you know, the sense of community and being together and loving and being patient with one another. Yeah.
I grew up in the church as well, and I would say, like you said, a lot of the Christian films, there's a very stark contrast between what they would call mainstream films and Christian films. And one of the things that bothered me growing up was that Christian families in those films were portrayed as perfect.
Yeah.
And so it was nice that you kind of showed the imperfections, and they're just real people.
Yeah.
Because that was always one thing. It was almost like Christianity. It was like the logic was purporting that if you accepted the Lord, you know, then everything would be great. At least that's how the movies would. And as soon as you stop following the Lord, then everything goes
if you
to
start
crap.
having questions or something, suddenly your marriage starts falling apart.
Right. So it's nice to kind of show a very modern and present day portrayal of Christian families. And I think since then, because it's been years since I actually watched films that were
because they have a reputation for being bad.
Yeah. And I
so
mean,
you stop going to the theaters for them.
or renting them. Like I remember renting them a ton of times. But it's it's nice. I think Christianity and those who consider them believers, it's mellowed a bit. Like everybody's kind of come down from that sort of facade of perfection as a Christian, and now it's like, we can be awkward nerds or hypochondriacs in the case of Jackson, or you kind of embrace those things that make us interesting people. I have
this is just like an example to play on that, but like as an example of how sometimes we portray Christian as an idea of like these perfect, flawless people. I have an uncle, and he's a pastor, and he doesn't look like the type of guy that people expect to be like a big churchgoer. Like he's a big biker dude, and he's bald with the long crazy facial hair, and he's super into Harley Davidson.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but so he's really built up a community for people like him, people who are really into that motorcycle culture, but still consider themselves believers and want a place to fit in that community. And
without being expected to wear like a button down,
like you have to wear these clothes if you go to church. Don't even get me started on that.
So it's very cool that he's able to his ministry is for that. Again, regular people just being regular folk.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, you had a question.
So it was kind of similar to that, but was like Patrick explaining to Sarah, was that kind of like how we view, like I view my family as crazy, and I'm sure like is that kind of where that inspiration came from?
I do think so, but I also I think the generalized message was supposed to be a little bit about like labels and filters, like the labels we put on people and how that can add a filter to the vision we have on those people. And then it's hard because people change, and I do believe that, and I know a lot of people may say like people don't actually change, and I'm like, well, fuck you, like you're wrong.
That means you're not hanging out with
you're not hanging out with the right people. People change. I mean,
even if it's like a modicum of change.
Exactly. I have 3 younger siblings, and like the just mass amounts in which their behaviors and personalities and interests have grown and shifted through their lives. But it's hard when you're that close to someone to accept that something's different. Like, it's hard to say, like, oh, yeah, he's so mature now. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, get out of here. That's my brother. Like, I see through the bullshit. But it's true. Like, people grow and change and can be more than what we, I guess, make them out to be or label them to be. Like, we like to put people into little classes and then say, like, you are this thing, and that defines everything about you. But it's like, people are, so much more diverse than that. Like, there's so many different things that build a person, and just one little part of who they are in their life doesn't build up their entire makeup.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because when he was explaining, and it was a nice visual element. I mean, when you make this film, it's going to be really cool to see the contrast between the images that were presented in the beginning and who they really are. I think that's going to really, you'll have some fun with that.
Yeah.
I think at first I thought it was his imagery.
Yeah.
But then it was interesting at the table. It was almost like from Sarah's point of view that she saw him in that like college
Suit,
professor style. So does that mean that you were intending for us to see those earlier images through Sarah's
eyes?
Through Sarah's eyes,
I think yes. Like, my goal was that it's, as Patrick's telling the story, Sarah's imagining what they would be based on his descriptions and nothing else.
Gotcha.
Which is obviously not what they actually are.
Which you'll probably be able to convey that by just even just a simple pan to her before transitioning to whatever transition you use to them in the house. But it was fun. It was fun to see that. Yeah. And then I liked how you're clearly showing that when they cut away or cut to some sort of wide he's back in his regular clothes. Like, it's very clear it's her imagination.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Okay, hit me with the hard stuff, guys. Anything, like, I'm not overly sensitive, she says, and then she fights.
How did you end up with a black eye? Well,
I went on this podcast.
I had one question.
I pray no one ever has to tell that story, but we never know.
Well, no, we totally stage it. It would be totally, yeah. It'd be a social thing. Were you going to say something, Graham?
I was, like, going to say I'm not, like, a huge screenwriter, so I don't have, like, major critiques. And, like, the way, like, from what I've read and how I write things, the way that you use, just the way that you write things is a lot smoother than, like, reading a book. So I just feel like it's a lot more film-ready than anything I've ever written.
I appreciate that, and I will help you feel more confident in your writing so that you can someday be the person on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought the dialogue was fun. The only thing that kind of popped out of me when I read it before was their sort of joking on page 2 about, you know, her saying, "Oh, we're moving too quickly."
Yeah.
You could probably condense the "it's funny," you know, because like, they're joking, and I'm sure with whatever actors you pick, you'll be able to kind of have that sarcastic
tone and the way
tone.
they portray
Yes,
it.
yeah, without doing having so many verbal cues for that.
I apologize. That's my phone.
Okay.
It's always you.
It's always me.
I was the last.
Here's the reason: is I keep my just to be clear to the audience out there who's judging me for having my phone on during the podcast record. I keep it on because I have alarms and reminders
and guests
when we're supposed to stop, so that the next guest isn't left out there waiting too long.
Yeah, see, totally a good reason.
Yeah, it's
to have
respectful.
Is
what
You're
it
a
is.
producer.
Yeah,
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that's on page 2 that kind of cut out,
Okay.
or kind of stuck out.
No,
to
I
me.
agree that segment seems like, you know, it's always hard to tell with jokes, like, what's the point where I'm, like, dragging it on in an awkward, funny way, or dragging it on in an awkward, just awkward way.
Right. And you really, sometimes, lines you just don't know until you get the actors together.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, they're conveying this just fine in 3 lines, so then you can, you know,
Just trim things
it.
out,
yeah. The East Coast line was the only other one. I thought maybe it would be helpful if you were more specific. Like, if you said, I'm from Brooklyn, or I'm from Baltimore, or one of those, I mean, Brooklyn, Baltimore are lovely cities. I've been to, or lovely places. I've been to both. But those are where, or Boston, where people are, you know, you expect a little more gruff and rough and tumble.
Yeah.
Because
can be very vocal about, you know, opinions and
yes. and who they are, and that pride in that. And,
I get that.
And I think that would be cool, because then I was thinking East Coast, I was like, well, I can see some Connecticut folk who'd be like, I don't talk like that.
I don't talk like
Rhode Island
right.
people. That's not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it also kind of helps with that character, because you've done a really great job of painting where Brunhilde is from, and that's going to be a fun character for an actor to play.
Absolutely.
So it'll be nice for you to kind of have that dynamic of. And then also, I butchered. My apologies. I don't know if you noticed, I paused right after you said a line, because I realized that Gwen is supposed to have a Southern accent, and I was like, can't do it. So there was like
she only has a Southern accent in the beginning.
In the beginning. Okay.
What's her name's?
Sarah's Imagination.
In Sarah's Imagination,
Yeah.
and that's because. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of, again, like, that's another, like, stereotype on religious people. Like, they're all from the South. Like, that's where it all comes out from.
But even if she has, like, a Texan, like, a kind of, which is sort of the more
like,
broad,
subtle,
because then you've got this really cool melting pot of people in the family, which is nice. You've got the uncle from wherever in the East Coast. You've got Brunhilde, and then you've got Gwen. And it just kind of helps bring some nice dynamics to a family, because I think a lot of families are used to that.
I have a very, like, mixed bunch of people in my family, so I get that.
Yeah. So I mean, so I apologize for not being able to nail that. And
That's
literally,
okay.
I was just staring at.
You heard my attempt at German was like a Russian.
I think
half.
you did a lot better than I would have done.
Yeah,
so.
seriously.
I really enjoyed Graham reading for all of the male characters, and
Good job, Grahm.
Actually, you know what I will say? And I thought this when you started reading, and I don't want to sound like in the best way possible, because I think this is an amazing actor. In the best way possible. Have you watched Bates Motel?
Oh.
Have either of you seen it?
Yeah. You're talking about the guy who plays...
the guy who plays the lead in that. I wish I knew. He's also on The Good Doctor, but I don't know his name.
I know his name, and it's just not coming to me.
I don't know. Great actor. You sound like him. Like, you remind me of him.
That is a compliment. He's really good.
He's a great
Well,
actor.
thanks, but I would never act. So maybe just
voice
my voice.
acting.
Yeah.
Voice acting. There's some good money in that. And he can just wear whatever you want and just show up in your pajamas.
Show up in your pajamas to work.
Exactly.
Sounds amazing.
Yep. So I thought that was cool in terms of just kind of showing the different places around the world, really, that his family's from. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, from a structure standpoint, I don't think, and I could totally be wrong.
Go ahead.
I don't think you need to do A/B.
Oh, okay. She's talking about, formatting wise, and you guys can see this on the blog post, because I do believe that our blog post does incorporate the actual text from the script. I could be wrong, so don't quote me for it. If you want to get a copy of the script, just email us at info@arizonastudios.com. But in this particular script, there is a montage sequence where they're going to and from different parts of the house. Like, they're inside the house the entire time, and they're just in different rooms. And so I approached it as a montage, and in the formatting that I'm using, it's each individual, like, subset of the inside the house scenes are labeled, like, A, living room, B, kitchen, whatever, what have you. And I could be doing that completely wrong. I mean...
Well, I don't know. I mean, and it's interesting when we're dealing with scripts that we ultimately are going to produce, I feel like it's like whatever we want to do, because we're not submitting the script to anyone. The only reason why I was thinking that it might not be necessary is because it wasn't like the traditional montage where they're not moving between, like, in your scene, they're actually literally moving.
Like, we're watching them enter from one room to the next. Yeah,
not like jumping through.
Exactly, it's not jumping through. Yeah, so that's
and because there's time for dialogue and stuff.
Exactly.
I'm just lazy and didn't want to put scene headings on
it. Well, that's not lazy.
Yeah.
That is producer and director writer's prerogative. But yeah, I was just gonna say, in terms of that, you might be able to get away with even taking away the letter and just having entryway, because this interior house very is continuous. That's we've seen that structure before, but yeah, I think those are the only things that came out. Otherwise, it was a super fun script, and
awesome.
And from a page count perspective, the producer in me says that you could probably nail this in like 3 days shooting,
3 days,
like three production days, like
It all have to take place
done.
in the evening, though, so it might spread out.
Yeah, you could.
Because of nighttime hours.
Well, after a certain point, I mean, if you had night shoots and you just started at 8, and you have a willing cast,
I mean,
you pretty much could shoot from 8
Cassandra,
to 2.
I mean, since you're asking, I mean, if you want to produce it,
we'll talk about that. But no, truly, like, I think that, just based on it, and the reason why I say that is because I really do, I want to see more people, particularly writers, producing their own stuff.
Yeah.
Producing is not, I'm going to be real, I don't know, how much you guys have produced. It's really not fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun to have to do it, but the logistics and it's hard.
I was talking to a friend who wants to get into producing, and I've done it quite a bit through the studio, the company I work for. And so I told him, like, it's great if you're a control freak. Like, if you're like me and you like having, like, a level, like, because production can be chaotic and it can be really stressful at times.
And you're putting out a lot of fires.
Yeah, and so being in the producer role, you have the opportunity to kind of just have the foresight to plan and prep and make sure things are prepared in the right way, where you've controlled enough that it limits or attempts to limit risks for anything going wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But then you're also the person accountable for when shit goes wrong. Like, okay, great, now I'm the person who has to figure out, at least, if not how to fix it, who needs to fix it?
Who
Like,
needs to
who
fix
do
it,
I
yeah.
go to and say, hey, you need to fix this?
And see, that's what I like about it, because I may, as a producer, not know all the answers, but I like having, and you said control freak, it has a negative connotation, but for real, I like having the autonomy to say, I need so-and-so to fix this.
Yeah.
And asking them to fix it, or reaching out outside of the production to fix it. When you're an assistant director, when you're just a writer, well, I say assistant director because that's what I used to do as well.
Yeah.
And I
I've
still
done
do
all of that
occasionally.
as well, I get that.
Yeah, you don't always have that autonomy.
You don't have all of the authority.
Yeah.
And the struggle with that is you don't want to cross any lines or step on any toes, but at the same time,
you have to get it done.
Things have to get done, and you're accountable for keeping things on time. But if someone else isn't saying, hey, you do this, or if you're stepping on someone's toe by saying, hey, do this, but you still need to know that it's getting done.
And so for anybody listening, if you find yourself to be a very decisive problem solver, communicator, like if that's something you want to do and you've been writing, I do definitely want to encourage people to produce. And it could be something small, it could be something short, but just do it, because when you have something on the page, it's great, but if you're only submitting it to other producers or directors and hoping that it resonates with them, you're still putting the power and the ball in other people's court. And so that's why I'm trying to encourage you to.
I get that. Likewise, I'd say, like, for people who, because there are some people, and I don't mean this in a negative way by any means, there are creative thinkers who have a harder time with setting expectations, setting up goals and deadlines, maintaining those, and that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You shouldn't feel guilty, but find someone to help you on the side of producing and administrative roles like assistant directing. Like, you should have those people as a part of your team, because, your project's not going to get off the ground if you're the type of person who just, has a lot of really great ideas but keeps kind of putting it off, like...
Yeah, someone that can hold you accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, it really is. It takes a village. We all know that it takes a village, and finding people whose skills complement yours is
hard.
It's hard, but it's so essential.
Yeah.
And I think it just is really, especially in a place like Arizona where there's so much hungry talent, it's just a matter of like putting yourself out there. And now I'm seeing, I went to New Mexico for a film conference recently, and they're doing wonderful work because they have the film and the tax incentives and the credits. But there was like a map that a booth provided that showed all of the states with all of their various credits and incentives. And so really, there are filmmakers all over the country who are in the same boat as we are. Maybe we don't have the tax incentives, but we have a hungry pool of talent. Yeah. And it's just a matter of putting ourselves out there and going to the mixers and, going to the workshops.
Yeah, so many people have great ideas and they just get trashed, because they don't hold themselves accountable or
go out and meet people.
Exactly.
Well, the other hard part of networking too is if you're that person who goes out networking with the intention of like, I have a thing and I'm going to find someone to do this, like, here's the truth. You need to go out with the intention of, I'm going to find people and I'm going to be their friend. And if they like me a lot, they might be willing to someday do something in exchange for that.
Right. And sometimes it also means putting yourself out there and saying, I'm willing to help on this set. I mean, so many no budget productions need PAs. And if you haven't worked on a set before, saying, hey, I'm willing to devote 8 to 10 hours of my day to learn and to work. I mean, that's sometimes just
it's a great foot in the
step.
Door.
Yeah, absolutely. So
cool. I mean, great feedback.
Yeah, this is fun.
On the script and on the industry, and hopefully it was super helpful for some of you people out there listening, so appreciate that. I mean, anybody have any closing stuff before I wrap this up?
It was absolutely brilliant.
Oh my God, stop it. Are you that judge? Like, are you going to be that, like, every time we sit down with the script, he's like, it's a yes for me.
It's a yes. Oh, you're going to be the male Paula.
You have to have one rude person and one nice person.
Oh, dang,
damn, he, like, pointed at her when he said rude person.
He would point at me like I'm Simon Cowell. I resent that.
You should. I thought she was pretty soft.
Hey, I'm totally kidding.
Dang. kidding.
All right.
Now that's how the fight goes down.
This is how we got the fight. If you guys are watching, Instagram later,
Black eyes.
Cassandra
everywhere.
has black eyes, or Grahm does.
But yeah, so great work though.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. All right, well, this has been another episode of New Script on the Block. Again, if you're listening to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're at and you're listening to the podcast, please be sure to comment on us, like, subscribe, continue to follow our episodes as they keep coming out. We're going to have more writers on the show. We're going to have more content, more educational information as well for those of you just getting into screenwriting. So please stay tuned. And comment at us, or if you can't leave us a comment wherever you're listening, or maybe you're driving and you just don't want to pull over to leave that comment, that's totally fine. Send us an email at info@Arizona Studios. We are happy to forward along any of your feedback to our writers, including myself. I look forward to anything everyone else out there has to add, and thanks again for listening. You'll hear us next time on New Script on the Block.